Hi, Dr. Garcia. Can you briefly introduce yourself and how you came to learn about the OneSight Exotica Foundation?
Yeah, so I've actually been practicing for about 5 years now. And the first 3 years of me practicing, I was an associate doc. And then I wanted to see if where I was where I belonged, essentially. So I did take a little hiatus for a year to go somewhere else and then came back as a leaseholder, actually. So in about 2 weeks, I will go ahead and come up on my 1 year anniversary of having a lease, and I actually have two here in San Antonio, Texas. So very excited. I'm very new to it. I actually heard about OneSight as an associate doc at first because there was a little like donation box in the front of the office, and so I asked what that was actually about at first because I didn't really know much about it. And they told me how it was about like a volunteer opportunity. So when there was an email sent out about volunteers for something that was local here in San Antonio, I jumped on the opportunity because, well, I'm local, so that was going to be an easy drive for me, essentially. But I wanted to kind of be able to give back one way or another to the community since I've done that in the past in my like optometry school in general.
Well, first of all, congratulations on your 1 year anniversary
Thank
as a
you.
business owner. That's awesome. And you said you now have two
I
subleases, is that
do.
correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Wow, super busy, but you still find the time to volunteer and give back to the community. I think that it's so great that you've kind of been able to see things from both sides as an associate and now as a leaseholder, and then still hold on to the value of volunteering and giving back in the community. Can you talk about a little bit about how the OneSight Exotica Foundation supports and empowers volunteer optometrists like through involvement with their programs?
So when I had gotten an email that I was actually selected, they did make it very easy process in terms of like itineraries and what was necessary to actually get to the clinic itself. So I lucked out to where I'm local, so I was able to go ahead and drive myself. But um, they did make it very easy in terms of this is like what you would do with at the airport, who's picking you up, what hotel you would stay at. There was team meetings that were going on as well and dinners too, so that way the team can go ahead and get to like learn about one another and get to know everyone before you kind of like jump in and start doing patient care. So everything was laid out very easily, and then once we actually got to the clinic, it's well to the site itself because the clinic is a van like a bus, so everything that you would need is in there. So there's two exam lanes that are fully equipped with a phoropter, and we had a handheld slit lamp and had all the drops that we would need and any sort of like testing that we wanted to do for a comprehensive exam. And there was also stations. So with our volunteers, whether they're local or from all over the country, they were kind of trained on the spot how to do certain stations when it came to like checking vision, checking pressures, doing like any sort of like entrance testing. So it was very much team oriented. So once the patient actually went through all stations and then went into the bus itself, me and the other doctor were going to be able to do our exams, and that patient would go ahead and have their prescription and be able to get it filled there on the van too. They would make it there.
Oh, that's great. And I mean, it's great that there was a lot of team building beforehand because those days can be very, very hectic and busy, rewarding, but kind of hectic and busy. You said that you also had experiences doing this kind of outreach as a student as well?
Yes, in optometry school, there are certain organizations. So there's something called like SFOSH, where you're like your student volunteers. There's also like a faith-based or type of volunteer program as well. So in optometry school, I had gone to Guatemala to go ahead and do comprehensive exams, and they too had something very similar where they were able to make the glasses on site. There was quite a bit more disease during that particular program just because of where it was. But I was able to go, out of the country to do that. Also did one that was a bit more local in the Rio Grande Valley, where they also have quite a bit of disease there as well. But we were able to go ahead and give them glasses on site too. It's very similar where they had like a van that was able to make and edge these lenses. So that's always been a very core value of mine to be able to go ahead and make sure that you jump on any sort of volunteer because as a business owner, and even like beforehand as an associate doc, things are businesses, but you also need to make sure you kind of stay true to why you joined the profession, essentially, and that is to go ahead and help others in need.
No, absolutely. I did a couple of these experiences as a student as well.
Mm-hmm.
We went to Ecuador and Guatemala, and Guatemala is a gorgeous country. The people are super nice,
Yeah.
and the things that you see there are things maybe you won't see elsewhere. But it's also nice to, remember that there's need closer to home too.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk about, throughout your experiences volunteering, is there anything, a patient experience or anything significant that stood out to you, especially when you worked with the OneSight Eso Exotica Foundation?
Yes, so for the one that I just completed, it was so Pleasanton, Texas is about 25 minutes south of San Antonio. So that's where our site was this year. And a lot of school children were coming through. So I had a little girl who came in with her little brother and her mom. And mom was kind of giving me a brief background of how her daughter had just been diagnosed with dyslexia and was just held back that year. And so they just wanted to go ahead and make sure that vision was doing okay, but she had already had that diagnosis. So as we were doing the exam, it comes out that she's actually nearsighted and has a pretty like decent amount of astigmatism as well, which was hindering her from being able to pay attention in school, being able to see the board and even seeing like worksheets and whatnot. So when I was talking with her mom a little bit more, that it may be a possibility that she may not like fully meet that criteria of having that diagnosis because once she was behind the phoropter and was able to see the letters, she wasn't confusing them at all. So it was a bit heartbreaking at first because if only she had, gotten her exam during that school year, which shows that it doesn't matter whether it's the beginning, the middle, or end, that we should, have our eyes checked in general because maybe she didn't have to be held back a year. So that particular like encounter really stood out to me because it was such a easy thing to be able to get checked and not have to like repeat a whole grade level again. And so they were very appreciative. She was able to go ahead and get her glasses made that same day as well. And when she put them on, it was the best. We were able to see her put them on and like look across the cafeteria and be able to see everything so well. So that was my favorite experience that I had.
I mean, that's what a testament to the power of, essentially the refraction, right? I
Yeah.
always say everything starts with figuring out best vision first.
Mm-hmm.
And, to your point, for want of a pair of glasses and checking vision, it had a sort of a profound effect on her life really early on, but you were able to step in and make that change basically instantly.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it's the one thing I always go back to with optometry. That's what we do. Patients come in and sometimes they can't see and they leave and their lives are completely different. So
Mm-hmm.
what a wonderful story to share really about the power of, your eye exam. So I think that's fantastic example of that impact that you can have. And we have it in the exam lane on an everyday basis, but
Yeah.
it's a little bit sometimes more powerful out in the community. So, for anybody thinking about doing this, whether they are already, affiliated with SO Exotica, maybe there are students out there who are watching this and they think that, they would love other opportunities to give back to the community. What are any words of advice that you would share with anybody thinking about volunteering and participating in programs like this?
Well, the good news is the majority of times they're already in place. all you have to do is ask, right? To see exactly what programs are already established and if you can join or help in any other way. And if for some reason that's not already implemented, why can't you be the one to start it? If that's something that you are really passionate about, there are always going to be other people that will be just as passionate about volunteering. And also, just when it comes to volunteering in general, I mean, just make sure you wear comfy clothes and you are ready to be flexible, because you never know what's going to walk in and be on your chair, or what may or may not be working at that time, essentially. But there's always a need, and if you are willing, you are definitely be able to fill it.
I think that's pretty great advice all around. You know, if it's not there, start it yourself. I think the wear comfy clothes as well. Those are words
Yes.
of wisdom. So
Uh-huh.
it's a long day, and it's a rewarding day, but you should definitely be comfortable and ready to move. Thank you so much for joining us today and giving your perspective and, you know, volunteering and helping out in the community. We very much appreciate your time and look forward to seeing you again soon. Thanks.
Thank you.